morning, 4th grade. We are ready to start chapter 32 of the Aurora County All-Stars. We're in a very exciting moment. The end of chapter 31 just ended with the score being tied 6-6. House's pitches are getting worse and worse because his arm is hurting, and now the game is tied. Okay, chapter 32 starts off with a quote by Sparky Anderson, second base of the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm beginning to see Brooks Robinson in my sleep. If I dropped a paper plate, he'd pick it up on one hop and throw me out at first. Okay, here we go. At the bench, the All-Stars drank deeply and doused themselves with water. The rain had held off, but the afternoon had turned steamy. "Who's up next?" asked Phoebe Tolbert, who had come to the bench with fresh water. "Evan, House, and Ned," said Boone. "We'll get 'em, Grandma. Don't worry." "House, get your arm back in that ice," said Ruby. "It's giving out. How are you going to bat?" "It's fine," said House, plunging his arm up to the elbow in the ice water and wincing. Mary Wilson handed out crispy, clean t-shirts. "You boys are a mess," she said, a delighted tone in her voice. "Change shirts." They did. While pies were cut, ice was replenished, and lemonade was poured. The Harmony Cornet Band played "America the Beautiful." Melba Jane sang. Folks tried hard not to cover their ears. "Feel it, Melba," whispered Finesse. "Feel it." "And crown thy good with brotherhood," Melba crooned. She sounded like a sick seal. Finesse buried her face in her hands. The band marshaled bravely on. "From sea to shining sea." She was done. The audience erupted in thankful, thunderous applause. Melba's face lit up like a candle. "Thank you so much," she gushed. She picked up her clipboard to resume her duties. The bottom of the 7th inning began. "Let's get 'em," shouted Lincoln. He handed Evan his bat. The red bug pitcher, little Mikey McBrayer, chewed a wad of gum as big as his baseball. He spit all over the pitcher's mound. Evan got a base hit. The All-Stars screamed and the fans jumped to their feet. House came to the plate with his elbow throbbing. He let the first pitch go by. "Ball one," called Dr. Dan. "Good eye," screamed the All-Stars. "Let him walk you." "Strike," called Dr. Dan when the next pitch sailed over the plate. House readjusted his stance and swung the bat across in a practice swing. He thought his arm might pull out of its socket if he really tested it, but he had to bat. He had no choice. He rested the bat on his left shoulder and nodded at Mikey. The pitch came and House bunted it, a little tap toward the pitcher. But Mikey was ready. He raced for the ball, scooped it into his glove, and in one fluid motion burned it to first. House was out, and the first baseman shot it to second. "Slide, Evan, slide!" screamed House from the first base line. Evan threw himself forward and landed with a thud on the second base bag. "He's out at second," yelled Dr. Dan. "No!" screamed the All-Stars, but he was. Evan was out. "Double play!" moaned Finesse into the microphone. The sound carried across the ball field. 2 away. Evan and House ran off the field together and clapped each other on the back. "Good try, House," said Evan. "Good try, Evan," said House. He plunged his arm into the ice water. "Come on, Ned!" yelled the All-Stars. "Come on, Ned!" Ned stood at home plate with a resolute look on his face. He bared his teeth at Mikey McBrayer. Mikey chewed his gum and nodded to his catcher, Jerry Brunner. And 1, 2, 3, Mikey threw Ned out, out, out. Phoebe Tolbert wept into her Snowburger's handkerchief. "Curses!" shouted Finesse. "No runs, no hits, no errors." "1 hit," corrected Dr. Dan. Top of the 8th. It's a tie, 6-6. Let's get this show on the road. House lifted his arm from the water. Doc McCree dried it quickly, stretched it gently, and said, "You be careful out there." House nodded and trotted to the pitcher's mound. The crowd cheered. "Come on, All-Stars!" shouted the team and the fans. "Come on, All-Stars!" shouted Honey. House closed his eyes and reached deep into his gut. He wrenched up whatever courage he could find there, slapped it onto his aching arm, and he pitched. The Redbugs hit every pitch, but the All-Stars were on high alert now. Their pitcher was all but done for. A pop fly to Arnold in right field, a line drive to Klebo at short, and a little atom ball to Wilkie at first. 3 up, 3 down, screamed Finesse as the Redbugs retired and the All-Stars came to bat. It's the bottom of the 8th inning and the All-Stars are on fire. House Jackson pulls it out of his hat and takes us the distance. House ran off the field and to the ice water cooler next to the bench. "Let me have a look," said Doc McCree. Leonard Jackson looked over Doc McCree's shoulder. "Not good," said Doc McCree. "Get it in the water." The cold water numbed the pain in the ligament, but it ripped at House's skin. He grimaced, but forced himself to keep his arm in the water. "Come on, All-Stars," he hollered in a hoarse voice. "Who's up?" The Redbugs were on high alert right back. They, too, were carried high on the wind of the cheering crowd. Oh, to have fans! And oh, to play out the game with such high stakes! Boone Tolbert got some weight behind the bat and whammed a long one into deep center field. Redbugs outfielder John Caskey got under it and waited for it to fall into his glove. "Disappointment reigns," cried Finesse. Lincoln Latham went down swinging at strike 3. Redbug parents jumped to their feet, cheering at such fine pitching. All-Star parents jumped to their feet, cheering at such fine swinging. And just then, Klebo strutted to the plate. That's the end of chapter 32. See you next time.